Hi, everybody. Welcome again to Carnival of Randomness. I suppose this is, what is November 1st? So on, All Saints, All Souls, something? Day after Halloween?
All Saints?
It's the Ides of March.
Okay, it's the Ides of
It's the
March.
Ides of March.
And we have our zoologist, Patrick, of course.
How you doing?
And we have the one, the only, he's back, the one and only Del Rivers.
Yep.
Hi. And we're very blessed to have one of the Great Lakes here from Rochester. We have Austin Lake. Hi, Austin.
We have lakes and rivers.
Trevor is terrible with directions. He might be worse than me. I don't know if you remember that show we saw Michaela, like out in Syracuse. Televisionaries were playing, so I asked him where they're playing in Syracuse. He gives me these fine directions. Oh, we're at a Mexican restaurant in downtown Syracuse.
Very, very specific.
It's like, oh, thank you for that one. I'll find that.
Yeah, I'm by a bridge in New York.
Yeah. So I didn't quite make that one. I did get lost in downtown Syracuse for a long time, though.
That's an adventure.
Syracuse is confusing.
So actually, Del had some questions for you already about some of your music. He's holding the album up. Remember what you were doing before you
about
was on?
the movie.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the movie, too. We're going to talk about everything.
Let's introduce our guest properly.
Yes.
How do we do that?
Yeah, why don't you talk about yourself for a second?
Talking about myself?
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm home alone. My name is Austin. I'm 28. I got 2 cats. I got 2 brothers. Like to make music. Like to make movies. Hope to do them all the time. Well, I do them all the time. I hope to do them all the time. Continuing to do them all the time.
All right.
It's great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
In depth.
So a little bit, what's this movie about and how did you get about to shooting it, all the other fun stuff?
Well, I think it all starts because I made a first movie called Pharaoh's Lonely Ego that came out on Valentine's Day of this year. And right around the time I was writing it, I had a few other movies that I wanted to do, but I didn't want to do a whole movie. So I kind of had an idea for like a sort of like a Twilight Zone episode, but maybe like gorier. And that was just the concept. I just wanted to make like something short and actually hire like people to do, to help, and a cinematographer, and like step it up and make it a little better, because the other one was just a handheld deal. So I guess just try to make something short and sweet. And that was the inspiration, really. That was it.
Excellent. And
yeah.
I think now there's a difference too, just because of technology. I've been involved in some filmmaking, and I think we used digital on the last one with Beth Bailey, which was Delicious Ambiguity. We just used the digital, and the budget was way down. Where before we had to do a big fundraiser for Getting Personal, because I think it cost like $120,000 overall on that one. And
wow.
You have to go back to the same people. Yeah, actually, Del, you came to one of our screenings at the Eastman when we had an opening.
Yep, that's true. I remember that. One thing I was going to mention too about his new movie, Anything Goes, the girl that did the filming, Katie Epner, come to find out she knows people that I know from the same filming, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
From my TV show, Frontal Lobe and Dumplings. She knows one of the younger participants in that. Went to school with them or something. I don't know.
No kidding. Yeah, that makes sense. She's very connected.
Couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Small world.
But the thing I ask this all the time, like the creative process for creative people, we seem like you just create. How did the idea come to you for this film?
Man, I don't know. I
see, that's the way they come to people, though.
Yeah, it's weird. It really is weird. I think it's like it snowballs, obviously, and it just starts with maybe not going after anything. Like it just pops in your head, and you go, "That's a really cool idea." So that's worth not even writing down, because I'll remember that. And then like you forget about that project, or you're like, "No, I don't want to make another movie. That's a lot of work. I'm gonna eat breakfast." And then you eat breakfast, and then you're like, I've got more ideas. I wonder if that connects to the old idea. And then it's like, before you know it, the idea wrote itself, and you're like, I guess I gotta do it. It's not like I don't know. Sometimes I just don't think we're like totally responsible for our ideas. You know what I mean? Like they just come into your head.
Oh, if you
And
see some of my Facebook posts, I think people would agree with you.
It's true.
It just pops into my head.
Yeah.
And I think it does. It keeps coming
Exactly.
back. And I think if you force it, I think now you could talk about songwriting a little bit too. I think if you force it, it just doesn't come out. It just has to come.
Yeah, it's like when you sit down to write. You know, it's like, I got to write something. Monday morning at 10 o'clock, I'm going to sit down to write.
Yeah.
The hell does that do? That's why, you know, so many people get frustrated with creative people because sometimes it just doesn't come. You know, it just like,
you have to be inspired.
I gave you this time. What did you do with it? And I'm like, I didn't write. I didn't have anything. You know, that's why, you know, writers generally have to develop a routine and stuff too. But it's like,
yeah. It's cool to know that everybody that writes, like even the masters, they don't want to sit down and do it. Like, it's a universal thing, and that's kind of comforting to know that like we all feel like imposters. You know what I mean? We all don't feel like we're able to do it, but it's just a little bit of practice. I mean, we're all inspired, but you know, just takes a little bit.
You get a little guilt from laziness. You know, sometimes you get lazy, you just don't feel like doing stuff. And that's my biggest. You know, I'm not a hardworking guy. I wish I was, but I'm not.
It's easier to watch great movies than to try to make one. That's for sure. Because it's like, you know, there's so many, so it's easy to get discouraged because there's so much great stuff out there. Why even bother making it? But you just don't realize that.
Well, and it's a different the difference between you people be like, oh, you know, you may watch a movie and think to yourself, oh, okay, that's a great story, move on to the next one. But there's people, you know, creative people to be like, oh, that's an interesting movie. What if they did this? Or what if it was something like this? What I'd really like is he has a story like that, like this, you know.
More often than not, you find like
engines
people come out with the same similar type of movie. And it happens a lot.
Yeah. Plus, I owe Dell. He said he's lazy. No, he's not. Because of him, I've got the 50th anniversary Monster cereal box. And I went right down to Aldi's. I went to 2 Aldi's to find them.
I don't know
they sold out pretty quick.
I don't know if you could call yourself lazy.
The 50th anniversary, there's a box that's got all the monsters
Count
on
Chocula.
Yummy Mummy.
Yummy Mummy.
Yeah.
Blueberry.
Yep.
Oh, no.
I'll show you a picture of it afterwards.
You know, you can almost tell that Count Chocula is seasonal. It tastes like it was supposed to be Lucky Charms, and they just dyed it brown.
Yeah.
You know, it's not very chocolatey.
It's that.
It's the least chocolatey of all the chocolate cereals. It's weird.
It's true. We could actually go on about the monster cereals for the rest of this.
You know, that was I was never allowed to have those kind of cereals when I was.
Why were they going to corrupt you?
No, because they were full. They were just sugar, and
well,
they were very bad
cereal.
Sugar,
So and you know, we didn't get anything with marshmallows in it for sure, and so whenever it was an option, we would go for it. My brother was
eat the marshmallows and throw away the cereal.
Yeah.
It's like an object to fight over in the house, especially when we had brothers. It was like, okay, we're each going to get 1 bowl of that. Who had 2 bowls of this?
Yeah.
That's the thing. In terms of filmmaking too, Austin, you just bring your own style. There's some people you're really influenced by.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I mean, that's really cool. It's cool to even be talking about it because I really didn't start taking it seriously until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And just with like little music videos and stuff like that. So I guess the style has kind of been slow and been like that whole kind of similar to the music stuff where it's just whatever I have around the house, but based on some of my favorites, like some of the greats. So like it's discouraging to go after something that because you want to see and hear what you're used to seeing and hearing. But that stuff is expensive. You know what I mean? It's like Queen is expensive music or you know, Kubrick movies are expensive and that's what we're used to seeing. So it's like, it's one of those arts that's disheartening, but if you can get a little bit of your voice out there, it's very, very cool, very rewarding.
I think Del can speak on this too. I used to say in terms of like, you know, music that I used to say, unfortunately, say like 40 years ago, I'm dating myself. It's like your brother was born the year I met Greg Townsend, for goodness sake.
Wow. Yeah.
But the thing is, I used to call a lot of music recordings local because you could just hear the quality. Now you can just do top notch. It would be like a national artist.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think digital has put us all on the same line, the same map.
Yeah.
For everybody else.
Yeah. It's funny that now that it's easier for people to make stuff, in some ways, because we're so flooded with content now of all kinds, that in some ways the bar is lower, but in some ways the bar is raised because
you got too many people in the barn.
Yeah, exactly. And eventually
reaching for the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry ahead of time for this question. Like when you first did videos and got into filmmaking, your first efforts, because I know like when you first did the podcast, I'm glad those aren't out there really are much viewed. But did you go, these are awful, canoffle?
Yeah.
I couldn't resist, sorry. But one thing I was going to ask too, in terms of the creative process, now you bring your vision, you have to collaborate with other people, obviously. You do that in a band too. Do you allow, like, if somebody comes along, like during the film and go, hey, I think this is good, but maybe if we did it like this, it might be better. And maybe there's those times you think, wow, that's a different perspective. I really like this.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of assuming that would happen with the first movie, that there'd be a lot of people doing that, because once you start to sort of lose a little bit of confidence in the room of directing, maybe somebody goes, well, I have an idea of how to make this better. And luckily nobody really did that, because that's really distracting, even though because I just wanted to figure it out. Basically, I wanted to learn how to do it.
You do, and also you obviously know this as you go. You learn by doing. That's how we learn.
Right. And I think learning how to accept people's suggestions and use them, because they're sometimes really, really useful. I mean, sometimes people have saved my projects from disaster with their ideas. So you need to be open to that, and I'm very open to that. Luckily, nobody really tried to take what I was really going after, which was trying to direct. You know what I mean? I was trying to figure this out. So that was sort of like, I guess I was worried that it would turn into just a party with my friends where we're all arguing over an idea. But luckily they let me do my thing, which was cool, and and that's like the most helpful people could be, is just being there to support you, but not going to stop you. And they're like, oh, he's got it. He'll figure it out.
Did you ever,
even though I don't,
did you ever get involved with, Austin, did you ever get involved with the Rochester movie makers, or you were thinking of getting involved with them or something?
About 10 years ago, I took a class there, and that was it. I just went down to RCTV and took that class when I was first getting interested in stuff.
Yeah, Gorham Street. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about their teaching methods is they're so hung up on format of a script that they don't even look at the script itself. Does that make any sense? It's like, at least you would see the important parts that are supposed to be done a certain way, and they insist it being written down, every little thing, like your character and everything. Whereas the actor knows what the character is going to be. It's his own creation.
That's how it's flummoxed me about screenwriting, because I did a couple of short movies many years ago, and I kind of copied the style together, and I'm like, no, you gotta get the screenwriting software that's hundreds of dollars, so that puts your slugs here and your dialogue here, and you're just like, is it really not important? Is it really? And they get so. And
it is if you're trying to sell the script, I'm sure if you're trying to make something look like something, but the only reason I would think is just to the only way to find out if it's a bad script is to film it and be like, okay, it was, and I've done that. It's like the best way, the most blessed way to learn would be if you could make every script reality, and then you can look at it and go, that's why that sucks. Okay, that's why people don't put that, but the format is negligible, to the content. I think
exactly. I just feel like it's a barrier to entry kind of thing. Like it's
yes.
Especially
Just
being
like,
criticized for something, you know. I've had a few scripts that I wrote and I was just totally criticized on format. And it's just
yeah, it's kind of like just
I
being
wanna
yelled at
film
for not
this,
knowing
you know?
scales or something.
Yeah.
On a guitar. It's like,
Right.
yeah, the scales are helpful and they help some people out of the weeds, but if you already know how to play a song, what's important.
Nobody ever went down to the store and bought the new album of Scales.
Right.
You know,
Jimi Hendrix is good, but does he know how to play scales? I
Oh man, that's a good one. I really dance to it.
That's like that line from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, there's how many chords, but that's only for jazz bands. No, how did this guy become involved with your movie?
That's a good question, Del.
I mean, him, not us. We're not in it.
Yeah.
I think I put an ad out. Maybe not Craigslist, Facebook.
I saw it on Facebook and I just wrote to you about it. You know,
Yeah.
I just finished a movie before I did yours called Astronaut Upstairs, which took like a god awful time to put together. In fact, it's still not really 100% yet. And I just got a little bit frustrated, so I figured I'd try some other people. And I knew his cousin or your uncle there.
Yeah.
And, just kind of had an instant, like we knew each other for years already.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great time. I mean, I think between Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, I put a Craigslist ad out too, and we found.
I actually met your brother. I met Trevor first before I met you. I actually saw him open for some band. I didn't know it was him, and I thought, wow, this guy's outstanding. You know, it's like you don't see too many people with red hair and stuff like that. It was interesting.
It was embarrassing though for like years. I would mix up Trevor and Brendan, and I told Trevor that one time. I was like, "I'm talking to your brother. I thought it was you." He's like, everybody does that."
Yeah, it's funny because they're separated by.
It was that swan dive. I finally told Trevor that. He's like, no bother. Everybody does it.
Yeah. I'm sure he likes it. Okay, I'm the younger one.
Yeah, look at it that way.
That's the other question I've been asked, because obviously we have to talk a little about music too. Is and I've asked this as like a stock question for everybody. How did you deal with you're rolling along and then COVID hits? How did that affect you in terms of creativity and your career at that and everything?
I probably the same way I hit everybody else, except that was the third year of my movie that I was filming. We were just wrapping it up, so it did affect that. A lot of people were cautious. Looking back, there's a good amount of that movie shot with people, wearing masks behind the camera and it being like a COVID set, which is weird to think about because I don't see that movie as like a COVID movie, but I realized that there are portions of it, like with me alone on the beach that was during COVID. I filmed it myself and nobody was there. And there's a good chunk of that. So it definitely affected the crew. I mean, it became smaller, or like, some actors were worried, but it's funny. I think that in the situations we filmed, it all helped the situations. You know what I mean? It's weird. In my opinion, it just sort of had like an overhanging of weirdness over those certain scenes, if that makes sense, and it ended up transferring over. So yeah, definitely a lot of it was filmed during COVID, but we still pursued through it. We were able to do it, which was cool. So
I know, like, it's interesting talking to various friends about what happened creatively, because like me, I was like, I'm going to do all these projects. I could barely get up and do my laundry. I had friends, like a couple people wrote like 3 or 4 albums worth of material.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's one of those things that you can't compare, because in normal life, you're never comparing to each other. Everybody's got different things going on, or like, but I guess you can't see, it looks like, okay, there's all this time in the world. I don't have to do anything. So I'll just create. It's like, that's not the kind of creatures that we are. Like, we're people. If it was that easy, we would do whatever we want all the time. You know what I mean? But we can't do everything we want to do all the time, because like, we see things as obstacles, but really it's not obstacles, if that makes sense. It's like, it just goes back to that. If it was that easy, we would all do it. It's hard shit. It's hard to get motivated to do the laundry. And and play
The whole,
guitar.
the whole
And
thing is to hang on to the main goal. You know, like I got a
Yeah.
music project that I'm working on, and it feels like it's never going to get done. I'm going to be like 80 years old when it gets finished, but it's going to get done. You know, just by the sheer want of doing it, you just do it.
It's like your version of releasing a
and there's
Who
nothing wrong
album.
if it does take you to your 80s. Yeah, who cares? You know.
Yeah, the Who.
I've definitely made enough stuff at this point where I feel like I remember release dates and thinking how important it was to get something out there, or I haven't done anything in a while, and like all this fake bull crap pressure you put on yourself that matters to nobody. It's like that's not important. That stuff doesn't matter to anybody. You know what I mean? And all that matters at the end of the day, if you know, honestly, is if it fulfilled you during the process. But also, I know we all want to make something good. So make it good. Don't make it today. Make it good. You know, if that could be.
That's why I think your music's good, though, too, because that's where you come from. And I've always said, like, being an old coot on the scene is me and Dell now. We're like in our 30s. And, you know, and everything. And what I always like to see is I remember the old days and everything, as we say. But I always look and I go, wow, the kids are all right these days. We're going to be rolling in the future on the Rochester music scene.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
One thing about Rochester, it's got its own thing, believe it or not. You know, it's kind of like a retro type city. It's not like any other city. You know, everybody else is trying to imitate LA, and we're our own monster from Chesterfield Kings going forward at House Guitars.
Definitely, yeah.
And where does this come from, like with you and your brothers, in terms of like your music taste? Because you remind me of one time I was waiting to meet Dick Dale, and there was these kids behind me who were like high school kids who were all into Dick Dale, and I'm like, this is awesome. They probably hate them at school, but they don't just like the normal crap. Like, where did this stuff come from in terms of you and your brothers, in terms of your music taste? And I know there's a little bit of everything, as Dell would tell us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. But definitely you're giving a lot of my credit to my older brother. He just had impeccable taste, in my opinion. He just seemed to be onto something. You know, as kids, like he would buy music and buy CDs, and I didn't have to look too far for that kind of thing because it was in his room and everything.
And it's great too, because you didn't have to pay for them.
I didn't have to pay for anything.
I do know he's a big Springsteen fan, though, too. So he is like, you know, he loves Springsteen.
Yeah. That one took me a while, but now I'm into him too. And that's what's so cool is like stuff we weren't into, we're into now, and I just love that. I love getting into stuff I used to think was crap. You know, it's awesome.
I know there's one period I didn't like.
It was kind of magical.
There's a period I didn't like of his, like in the 90s a little bit, because I thought it was sort of bland, but then he really came back.
Yeah.
Went through Tom Joad and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean that one, but like Human Tie, like Lucky Town. But
I remember when Springsteen first got listened to in the 70s and 80s. He was like freaking God to some people. They were like, be like house parties where everyone just shut up to listen to Springsteen, like, you know, stuff like Led Zeppelin. They just shut up and listen. It was just amazing.
It's weird.
You know?
I think it's weird. It's a strange phenomenon that he's so popular, I think, still. Like, you know, it doesn't make total sense.
Like, you know, this is like a good trivia for you. You might know this, Dell. They never sold well in Rochester. He finally sold out on the River Tour here. That was when he finally broke in Rochester, but before he was one of those artists, because Rochester, if you don't like the basic bands, you know, good luck sometimes back in the day.
But you remember a guy named Luke Worm. He used to be a guy that promoted Springsteen a lot in Rochester. He was a DJ at Scorgies, and he died, unfortunately. But he was around long enough where he really promoted Bruce Springsteen, as well as the Stray Cats when they first came out, stuff like that.
It's a great name, lukewarm.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy. If you ever hear of him or mention him.
Luke Tepid in Rochester, Luke Freezing in a little while. You know, but no, we're going to go back to the movie, obviously, too, and talk about that. But what are you doing in terms of like music? Now, I know like the televisionaries are playing at that thing on River Road on the day before Halloween. And how many bands are you like active in right now? Because I know everybody in Rochester now is active at least 20. So here we go.
Hey, cool.
Adele had a
There's
good
some
comment
promotion.
about this album too, with this single. What was that you were saying,
like
Dal, in terms of like the
There's-
Ramalayama?
Yeah, there he is, right there.
Totally driving. Totally have my license.
You saw your two brothers go flipping over the hood when you hit the gas by mistake. But what was you mentioned
That was right, exactly.
You mentioned the sound of the music. What did you say? Like it sounded like a whole bunch of different influences, like with Awful Knawful, with Televisionaries. You, Dell.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to him.
No, you were saying what do you hear in their music? Hearing it outside of what they think.
Oh, well, I was listening. I kind of reviewed the Awful Knawful album. If I could show that real quick. This one. And it's Clams Casino. That's the name of it at the bottom. Or Clams Casino. And I thought it was in between. Yeah, it's a little bit wrong. It was in between jazzy kind of thing and later day Beach Boys combined into that sound. That's what I thought of it as.
Cool.
I thought it was just, the only thing is I thought it was just maybe one step away from perfection. Just like if it got produced a little bit better, it would be perfect. Songs are really
cool.
Some solid songs.
Well, maybe do a sequel called Surf and Turf that you go up a little bit.
Yeah.
Combine the two bands into one.
But that is the thing I love from all these bands too, is you can hear all these different influences and everything. It's like a big, nice, buffet of different types of music. But you all again, and I've said this about the high risers a lot, where they make the music their own. And you make your music your own too. It's not like, oh, this is like a tribute. No, you're taking styles, but you're blending them into something unique.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. That's awesome. That's exactly what I was hoping to do, or at least hide all influences and pretend I came up with it, myself.
Yeah, I wrote that. Yeah. Well, I mean, I always that's why I pick and choose shows. And like before, when it's still not a comment on the bands when I drop dead at the one, but I try just to go with the things. So if I come to your shows and stuff, I actually really like them. It's like I have a lot of friends who you want to come out and no, I just caught a cold that week.
Afraid I might die again.
Yeah.
I have one more. 45. I was going to ask you about the Bloodshot Bill.
Oh yeah,
45.
Nice.
Spit on my rubber.
I love that.
You filmed the video right in your house too. I noticed.
Yeah.
Did it Katie do that, or who filmed it?
That was my cousin, actually. He was when he was back hanging out with us and stuff. Bill was in town. We had just cut the record, and I was just I basically forced them all to do this walk through in the house video, and I made him do it.
Yeah, it was a nice video.
Yeah. Thanks.
I think Bloodshot Bill's really big in New York City. Isn't he pretty big in New York City?
Yeah, he's got a good crowd. Yeah. He's I can't really judge what size artist he is, if that makes sense. He does really well in certain cities, and when he came here, he didn't.
Yeah.
But I think that was for different reasons, maybe the promoting, but it's weird. It's hit or miss.
Yeah, I mean, last time I saw him was actually at Hannah Widener's shows at the Daily Refresh.
Oh, right.
Of course, everybody I know was, and I started talking to Bloodshot Bill. What do I do? Oh, I have a podcast. Can I play one of your songs? Oh, sure, man. Have to promote. But see, it's everybody. It's everybody we would know came down there, was packed.
Yeah.
But maybe it is niche. Maybe it is promotion too, and maybe you're bigger in a certain area.
Yeah.
And we have
shut that computer off.
Phone.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't really know. I don't really know well enough at his relationship to Rochester or anything. But
he's from Toronto, isn't he? Is he from Canada?
Yes. Yeah, Toronto.
I'll actually ask you a question now. When you're playing, I think you were away. I know you played Cleveland. I think. What's the reaction when we know you? When you play places that might not have ever seen you before.
They're definitely taken back by our attitude, I think, first of all. And I don't know, we're not just I think the songwriting and like the whole brother thing, it's like it's become. I think it's a spectacle in a sense, which it's always been, but now that it's like set up to be sort of like this weird, demented Beatles looking band, it's it comes across that way, and it's sort of like we know what we're doing now, and it's almost comical that we act like we don't. So I think that's the vibe now. Is what we're going for is looking like. Looking like one of these old timey bands that like, oh, what are these hip guys listening to that? But it's like,
Yeah.
we know our stuff and we're ready to rock. And that's kind of what we do now is just, we're not ready to please these people. It's like, we want them to love and enjoy the music that we like to. So that's basically what we're there to do. And it's like a different atmosphere than just being like, well, I want to play, so I'm going to get out there and play. It's more like now, I really want to showcase this great music and these artists that we liked growing up. So, here's everything. It's kind of balls to the wall now. So it's been pleasant. It's been pleasant reactions.
Kitty cameo behind you.
Oh,
Yeah, they can't.
So
They can't try to jump out the window again, I think.
Yeah, go
It
on.
was on the
no,
trip.
Adele, you were talking a while back about how there's always been a very retro scene in Rochester for
Oh, yeah.
forever, and with the obvious like Chesterfield Kings and other kind of Rochester,
Yeah.
would maybe have got classified as a Rochester sound.
Whole lot of shaking
Yeah,
radio,
well,
basically.
Yeah,
So-
that's what started it too, was
What do you
like
think
Record
keeps that
Archive.
going?
It was in the old location. Record Archive, when it was in the old location, had tons of used Ventures records and
Oh
Stuff-
God, yeah.
in the 60s. It was like made futuristic. It sounded good today. I bought a ton of that stuff. It was amazing. Ventures and of course the Beatles stuff, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
And I think they're big enough where it'll always, kind of permeate through the Rochester scene. They'll always have somebody that wants to do a cover of a Beatles song or something just to spice it up.
Yeah, I think to speak to the whole retro idea, when people kind of look at it like, what's this all about, or what are you getting at here? It's I think it comes from a really good place though, because I think that there's nobody in Rochester that's opposed to new things. Everybody's very open to new things. It's just like, hey, wait, don't forget that this song was awesome, because it's easy to forget. So it's like, I think that's a really great spirit that a lot of people have like embodied around here. Is just, yeah, the new is great, but don't forget the old stuff, or don't forget where it came from, and hey, let's play it again just so it doesn't get lost. And it's like, it's a really cool thing, instead of it's like not being hung up. It's like
it's also a different type of scene altogether, because I got a cousin that's like a rap singer. He's like a white rap guy that, he was big in New York City and stuff, and he came here, nobody knows who he is practically. But, they have their whole lifestyle of all these gangster rapper type guys. They're just, it's like a whole different scene altogether. And this is kind of like the alternate. It's not even like
alternate
part
unit.
of the popular. Yeah, it's just totally away from everything. But there's enough people that are into it to keep it going, be into it.
And it's such a musical town, because there's all that stuff going on too. Like there's a pretty thriving hip hop scene in this area. There's a lot of alt country stuff, a lot more alt country stuff that you see popping up everywhere.
Right.
Dance stuff, electronica, stuff like that. And and that's always been a thing. But like, I feel like this kind of, 60s, a lot, very 60s centric, late 50s, early, to late 60s, this zone of American music has always been particularly strong here. And thrived, and I think it's very cool, and I think
it's very much like Americana,
like
but it's just a lot more energetic, energy.
And I used to tell people, I would have friends, one of my friends moved to Atlanta. You would think Atlanta, big city. He would say the music scene's nothing like ours. And I would say every day of the week, I could tell you to go somewhere for different music. If you said, what do you like? Go here. What do you like? Go here.
Right. That's true. Especially now, it's like big. I mean, there's more people in Rochester than ever was before. I mean, there's less people because they're moving away, but there's more than general.
It's
that's the thing though. But one of the things now, where can we find your movie to view it and see it and everything? And where can we block out Dell's scenes so we don't have to see those?
Well, yes, there's two versions. There's the extended Dell version where it's just Dell. But everything's on YouTube. I've found that I really can't direct anybody else to any other platform, so I use YouTube. Everything's on there. So I have my movie up there. I have some of the short films I made, some music videos, and it should be all there.
Do you have a channel, like a channel for yourself? Or
yes, just under my name. Yep,
just under Austin Lake. Okay.
Yeah.
I think your brother's got one too. It's like
Does he?
2 different channels.
We should
either
we should troll him.
Yeah. That's the one thing too, is I say there's always I don't argue technology. There's pluses and minuses to everything. I've had a couple stalkers lately, so it's a minus to that. But the thing is, you can get your stuff out there. Now there's the paradox that everybody can. So sometimes you have to crawl through, but you can get something out. You don't have to have $5 million to get a film out. You could say, hey, it's on YouTube. And people can find it. Like this show, people somehow find it. Like I've got people from Canada watch this, if it's out there. And I think what happens over time, I think there's a snowball effect where people start word of mouth and it starts picking up and it's good. And you get people to do it. We're maybe Dale, 20 years ago or so, we'd probably be just consigned to just our friends.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. That reminds me of the time when we first came out with Frontal Lobe and Dumplings TV show. They actually used the audio from that to a Canadian radio station. They used this broadcast on that, and they would get a lot of Canadians that would catch it. The show was kind of pretty bad if you watch it, but it's fun at the time. It's like one of those good bad type things.
Oh, it's worth watching for the name.
Yeah.
The name of it's great though. I love the
great
name.
Great name.
That's
we actually almost got we were going to call ourselves the Blintzes. It was like a Jewish cookbook called Blintzes, but
or blinis.
Yeah, some sort of Jewish food, Jewish cookbook.
How to cook a chutzpah.
Oh yeah. So now we're just getting off Halloween week, and I know over the weekend there's 400 bands I could go see basically.
Oh my God.
I'm going to be down at that if I can find it. I asked Casey from Fox 45 where their Railroad Street show is with all the bands, and I mean Televisionaries I think are one of the headliners at that. Can you say a little about that?
I could say a little. I don't know too much, but you're right. There's
That's good. The show's going to be on after it's over anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. Okay. Well, there's about 1,500 bands, and I think there's 5 bands.
It's Monica Lewinsky, Fox 45 Televisionary, someone else, and
Sam Hain.
Yeah,
I don't know who Sam Hain is, but I feel like
is it on the 30th or 31st?
It's on the 30th. It's on that Railroad Street. It starts at 6:00.
Yeah, up in where they do the
public market.
Yep. Public market. Yeah, it's Railroad Street.
Yeah. But there's so much, and I admit, due to COVID and stuff, I'm still laying fairly low. But I think I'm going to go out to see that though a little because I'm still just careful. I mean, I have enough scares this year. That's all I need is to. Have grow another.
It's kind of a crime area too. The whole part of just near there, Pennsylvania Avenue, where I used to live, is a big crime. You always get people shot down there and stuff like that.
Oh, you're a good advertisement for this one, Dell. That's just really good. Good advertisement for the show right there.
Well, so luckily we really can't promote it because it'll already happen by the time.
Yeah.
But
we'll talk about
Johnny on the spot.
We'll talk about it like it already happened. Boy,
yeah, it was packed. The crowd blocked off Main Street. Nobody could even drive.
Nobody got shot. Nobody got stabbed.
Bullets grazing over our heads like rain.
Yeah. Just in the
that's just rock and dude. That's just rock and roll, man. I remember my brother's
Rochester rained out.
My brother's band opened for Cheap Trick. New Math opened for Cheap Trick at the Penny Arcade. They threw bottles at him.
Well, your brother was in New Math?
Yeah, he was the keyboard player.
what the hell? Come on, we should be talking about that.
How do you think I got on this scene? And it's like, that's how I've been around here for all these years, living
Now
off
it makes
past
sense.
glories.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
What
but
a-
they
what a
opened
great band.
what the story about Cheap Trick was. They threw bottles at him, I guess, in Buffalo the next night. Cheap Trick said what a great band they were, and they had a lot of fun.
Really?
But I think
It's
that's
great
why I
as a
asked you
band
about
like
you and your brothers, because a lot of us, we got pulled into this because of somebody we knew or everything,
Yeah.
having a connection to that, like how, that's how a lot of people go, or your parents were somehow into it or like that.
Yeah, I think it's cool when you get sometimes a kid that has nobody and or doesn't have those connections and they're in the scene.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
Like
those
Whole
are
Lot of
always
Shaken was a lifeline back in the day, like
right.
all the other
Yeah.
things, like good old Count Mike and everything from like 1984. Because I think too, you felt like you weren't alone. Like sometimes it's like when you have the cool thing and like you find the other person who's into the cool thing. It's like then it's like all the others are in their REO Speedway.
They used to be when the Whole Lot of Shaking first started. That was the best for bands, and they got we'd interview them on the show, and it'd always be a part of the scene somehow. It was like a scene that was there, with the Insiders and Pawns or whatever, with Walt O'Brien and a bunch of other bands that were all like part of the same group.
And I think Patrick, Patrick's, well, he probably, I'm sure will be again. He's active on the local theater scene. He could probably speak to the same in terms of the community of it and everything here.
Oh yeah.
So like if you need
lot of
qualified actors instead of Dell, he's available. They're like, sorry, Dell, Greg's not here today, so we have to pick on someone. But it's like
I can't memorize stuff, so
it's a tight-knit
I
community
don't know if I
and
can anymore
everything,
either.
where everybody knows everybody. They try to help people out, and
It's all about collaboration and the groups all mix. If you're doing it right, your different groups will mix and because there's always everything. Theater always kind of it turns into almost like extended bands in some ways, where everyone is just all working with specific people. But the more that stuff is happening, the more people mix. And now that Peter's back,
I think it even includes people like from TV, like Channel 10 news and people. And I've seen them, like in comedy clubs and stuff like that. They're really getting involved with the local scene too.
The production of Much Ado About Nothing that just wrapped at Muck, I didn't know like the actor that was playing Beatrice in that is a reporter on I can't remember which is Channel 10 or Channel 8, but
really?
and I was like, she looks really familiar. I don't know, and she was incredible. But there's more, and that used to be a real taboo in TV news, is to do like entertainment stuff, but it's less of a thing now. I think that more, because more people, it's you have access to people more because everyone has their own channel.
I have an idea. Pass it on, Austin, to your brothers. Shakespeare soliloquies to rockabilly music, where you play the background, you have somebody do things from Shakespeare.
Wow,
it hasn't been done yet, so there's
I like that.
I think that would be good. But what do you see?
What
do you see for the future? You're just going to keep on keeping on being creative in music, being creative in films? And you're hoping to do a feature film?
Yes, I'd like to do another one. I'm writing one right now, actually called Cold Day for Alligators, like the Rocky Erickson.
Rocky Erickson.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I can use that. But
it was a cold day for dogs, is it?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to just keep writing them. I'd like to keep acting in other people's stuff. Obviously keep writing music for Televisionaries and Awful Canoffle, but that'll probably be something I do just forever, really. Those two things I hope to continue.
Oh, we hope so too. But in terms of acting, so you have like any, like, would you want to play like any type, you open to any roles? Do you have like some kind of dream role or anything, like some type of guy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would love to be just a distasteful bad guy. I think that'd be the funnest thing to do.
I think that's the best. Like, it's like, I think it's really part of like acting in a way, and Patrick could talk on this, that you get to play somebody you're not.
No, that's the big thing
Right.
about that is
Yep.
you get to
He's played some
exercise.
dicks, believe me. I've seen him.
Yeah, no, and villains are always fun to play because you get to exercise parts of yourself that you keep, you really keep deep inside, and you get to throw it up out there and get it out. But
All the
yeah,
stuff
like
that you're not allowed to do. There's emotions that in society you're not allowed to display.
Yeah.
And that's what's fun about it, probably. It's
You've
nice
probably
to-
seen my bad guy, the Nick Whippet character that I do.
Nick Whippet. That's
Yeah,
How is he though? Is
I
he
puff
more
up-
of a,
like that.
what kind of bad guy is he though? Is he like a huckster, like sort of just a snake?
Well, it's the storyline is basically I'm like a host of a paranormal show that I try to like go through things that are paranormal, but it ends up being his personal life and stuff. It's still kind of going. We might do another episode pretty soon.
I'd like to see that. That's cool.
It's on Vimeo, I think. It's on
Oh, yeah?
Vimeo.
yeah.
Yeah, I give like credit to both you two and Patrick because of her live performances. Because I know like some of my friends have said, "Well, you should come up and tell jokes between our sets," and I'm like, I would sit there and freeze. That's why we tape these shows because I mean, you just lose it like in terms of live. And I give anybody credit. You could say there's like bad bands or ones you don't like or bad shows. I go, hey, I give anybody credit who'll just get up there and do it. I had problems. I had to be so drunk I could barely stand to do a couple karaoke songs.
Yeah, seriously. It's that's a hard hurdle to break over, and it's the same for everybody. There's some people that you see and you're like, that guy loves to talk. He just you see bad comedy and you're like, how does that guy not want to get off stage right now? He's dying up there.
Oh, yeah.
But they love it. That's a strange personality. The rest of us are kind of in the same boat where we at least want to be prepared or do something good, and we freeze.
I don't think there's anything scarier than stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I can't
agree.
I've had ideas for stuff. I had a whole bit that I was working on that it turned from one absurd thing into something that made more sense, but I was just like, I don't know if I could get up and do it on stage.
Well, Patrick, you're relatively young. I mean, I gotta tell you,
Well,
relatively. My
relatively.
fear until I was like 45 years old.
Yeah.
I was afraid to go on stage all the time. But
Austin's
now I
looking at us like, God, these guys are going to drop any minute. They're of the age.
I am 48.
No, but I'll tell you this one thing I can tell you. This is from my brother. Like you think about, okay, the Cramps. Where do you see somebody crazier than Lux Interior? Or what about Jeffrey Lee Pierce from Gun Club? He said they were the shyest people in real life.
Mhm.
That's
Jeffrey Lee was worried about his weight a lot. That was his thing. And I guess Lux and Ivy were just very quiet people off stage. And people get that.
Rob, did you ever cross paths with My Bloody Valentine, the band?
Yeah.
You ever see that?
I
met them and they were scary. Those guys they didn't want to talk to anyone.
Well, yeah, they do have crazy people too. I'm not going to say there aren't some who want to, Gigi Allen maybe, or somebody like that, or like one of these characters.
Yeah, it was always like he was, this story about the undercover cop who just got in too deep. I always felt like Gigi Allen was like the punk who got in too deep. Like he
Definitely.
that was a thing. Like punk in a lot of ways was kind of a mask for some people. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Where and it was a scene, and I used to, just like. But some people really embodied it, and some people just went way too far. And Gigi Allen was like, yeah, it's scary,
Yeah. And I'm going to cut myself and eat poo. Yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
one thing I have to say, this is, you probably know this, Austin, dude, like being on the punk scene here with Will and everybody. I hate to tell about them, but they were some of the nicest people there are around.
Yeah, of course.
Like, look at me, I'm scary. Oh, cut the shit.
It's like how
I always felt like at the Bug Jar, I used to do the door at Monty's Corner, and some of the characters on East and Alexander, like, give me to the Bug Jar. Those are my people. They're just the nicest people. They would say, excuse me, if they'd walk into you. A couple would be drunk and cough on you and spit on you because they didn't know because they were drunk. But, it happened. It's rock and roll.
Right. I agree.
That was a pretty good scene.
It's like all death metal guys are giant nerds.
Oh yeah, they are.
It is just giant nerds,
Sweethearts.
Just like they take up their corpse.
But you retro rockers, you're all dangerous. I'm not messing with any of you.
Yeah.
See, yeah, we're retro rock, so we're just smart asses. That's like our that's all we've got.
Oh
T-shirts,
yeah,
blue jeans, big mouths.
But this is great. It's like I'm glad you can make it on. I know you're really busy, and we all have our weird schedules. And Dell's always Dell. He's always doing 400 things, I'm sure.
Well, it's my pleasure, man.
I pretend
great.
No, but that's our big thing. My big thing, as I said, I suck at everything, pretty much like music and that everything else. I mean, I couldn't carry a note if like he had some bellboys helping me up the stairs. So I just want to support the local arts and my friends and stuff. And you have to be good too. It's not like you send me a check.
Which I did, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for decades, but just like seeing it and everything, like I said, I met Greg Townsend the year Trevor was born, actually.
That's wild, man.
You weren't even born yet. You were like a thought.
I was not even a thought.
And I never would have thought, it's like, dude, I met Greg, actually I met him in 89. That was before, and I'm going, well, one day there's going to be this really cool redheaded dude who's going to drum for him. He's got to be not around yet, but.
Right? Oh, man, so weird.
I told Trevor that he's like, wow, I know what he was going to say. He's like, I know what he wants to say, dude, you're old. But he didn't say that.
Well, I seriously, it means a lot to be invited on here. It really and talk about this stuff, because it just I don't know, makes me feel relevant. It's cool to to do all this stuff and be seen at all, because that's the art form that we're in. We like to communicate, so it's just cool to have anybody appreciate it.
You were good. I remember my faux pas, that show with Michaela in DeWitt, where I was like, this was in my drinking days still, when Awful played at the Crown the night before. And I remember going up to you, it's like, dude, that was a great show at the Bug Jar last night. You were like, I hope it was good. I wasn't there. We played at the Crown. I was like, I'm going to buy a shirt now. I'm going to buy a shirt, okay?
Just tell me about another good show.
But I remember, did you play on that bill too? Because it was Michaela DeWitt, and she opened for somebody. I think because I know the televisionaries were playing at the unknown Mexican restaurant. Your brother got me lost to go there. Yeah. Did you open that show or not? I forgot, he was just there. At DeWitt, Michaela was like a theater, and she was opening for somebody. Televisionaries were playing that night. I thought you opened. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was Carnival. Was it Rubble Bucket?
Yeah, it was Michaela, it was Rubble Bucket.
Yep, yeah.
And I remember because I was still hungover, and they were like, hey, Michaela, again. And you're like, oh, geez, why'd he come out? Those are my alcoholic days. That's wow, now I bet I haven't drank in 2 years.
I was quitting smoking that day. I smoked a cigarette and I threw up behind the venue. I remember that.
How you doing with that? Because seriously, I've heard friends say that is the hardest thing to give up. Doing okay?
Well, honesty, I've got a pack here, but I've had it for a really long time. So it's a slow burn exit. It's a slow exit, but I'm coming out the other end, and I'll be a non-smoker soon.
Hey, wishing you all the best. It's
the thing that prevented me from smoking is I didn't want my stuff to smell like cigarette smoke. Yeah. That's why I was going to get into cigar smoking. I was going to start smoking cigars.
Yeah. I love the smell of cigars. That'd be
it smells good.
One of my friends is a pipe collector and all the stogies and stuff. My biggest thing was it's called allergies saved me.
Yeah.
But I went from an alcoholic junk food eater to this health nut almost. So what happened to me a couple months ago from being a health nut? But I do yoga and I don't drink, and I lost 120 pounds in 8 months. So
holy cow.
I could do it. You could do it. You don't have to use under 20 pounds. You can use 5 pounds. I
don't think he's got to lose them.
That's fantastic though, man. That's really, really great. Because any adjustment like that, whether it's temporary or not, I love
my
that.
serious thing was just I want to have 2 or 3 more decades to appreciate the music and get into trouble in some of my escapades and stuff. I wasn't ready to take an exit yet. Though it would have been Megan. I told this to Megan Taylor. I said, can you imagine the local tribute concert if I would have bought it? It was almost worth it.
Unless you fake your own death or something,
Okay, I might do that. If you promise to play and get your bands, I will fake my death.
You have your own rock and roll funeral, so what you do. You
So
know,
we need you around. We need you around.
Cool, but thanks a lot, man. And anything else to add? How can, again, just tell us, because we always jump around. How can we find all your stuff? Because we like to do it at the end, and we'll post it all too. And how can we find links to your bands and all that other fun stuff? Do you have any shows coming up with your bands after Halloween? Because we're doing this on November 1st.
Ooh. Yeah, I can't.
We can find you. So you on Facebook, obviously, like Awful
Facebook.
Canonical Televisionaries.
Awful Canoffle's Facebook is under construction pretty much. I'm pretty bad at that, but I have a personal one, Televisionaries. Trevor's very good at that. He keeps that up to date.
Well, trying to spell Awful Canonical will take you 2 months anyways. I'm glad
It will.
Sure.
Yep.
Where did that name come from?
So there was a great Evil Knievel documentary where they named Awful
excellent.
Kanoffle. Yeah, yeah. They talk about him as apparently being a real person at some point in time, and I think it was like 11 years ago. I saw.
Do you know anything about that, Dal? You're into pop culture. Any truth to that? Do you know?
The Evil Knievel?
Yeah, the Awful Canonical thing.
I didn't know there was a connection with Evil Knievel and Awful Kanoffle. I got the Evil Knievel biography. I haven't read about that yet. Sure, it's probably in there.
I don't know if Evil Knievel himself verifies that Awful Kanoffle existed, but there's some cops in Butte, Montana that attest to his existence.
So, wow.
We should make up like some legendary figure on the Rochester scene that we only see make some really goofy name and claim that he's around. But he was at this show and make it all up. Like I actually made up this band Gothic Toad with a bunch of my friends. We played in high school, but we tell people, and all you got to do is the delivery. You go up to a friend, you remember Gothic Toad? And they'll be, oh yeah.
Is that the first time that you made that up on the show?
No, we've done that before.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
I used to do that.
But
I used to do that to my roommate. Make up fake movie names and stuff like that to try to impress movie directors that didn't exist.
High school. I think for my last high school, they found me for college for like an update, and I said I was engaged to Amelia Clark, so something, like that. But the thing is, too, it's like. Also, it's the cool thing too. Every week again, I got a plug Whole Lot of Shaking. Hearing the Televisionary song every week is like Charlotte Beach, Charlotte Beach.
Yes.
If you went down there on the wrong day, there'd be litter, but it sounds great in the song.
Yeah.
It would be nice to play over Charlotte Beach. That'd be kind of cool if they could do that on their PA system.
Right.
They have the cards, put the song on.
It's a great song.
You should put like a big billboard of all you guys on Charlotte Beach, like with these guys.
Now you're talking.
You should actually know, which I guess they had something like about Omaha Beach. They had a big thing down there too. But what you should do is trademark Charlotte Beach and make them pay royalties to use the name.
Yes.
Nobody ever talks about the storming of Charlotte Beach.
No, there's something though about Omaha Beach. There was something about there was some memorial to Omaha Beach or something down there. I have heard this for real. But we'll have to get an expert on the show for that because we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
They used to put World War II prisoners around there or something.
No, it's a true story. I found that out. I just have no clue.
Yeah. They had to put them somewhere. They put them in that building or whatever.
But the other thing, too, is you have to have a concert at Charlotte Beach now for sure. You count Marges. You just count Marges, is that?
Yeah, I would say. Marges counts.
Very cool. On that, we're going to pot right now, pretty much on the show. We've got thanks very much for being on, and Dal. I'm sure you can come back anytime. Dal, you'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be back anytime you want. So I figure out how to use Zoom. Zoom changes every time I use it.
Yeah, it is. It's a tricky thing. So.
But thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it, and
absolutely.
Much success. Thank you guys. See you at the shows. Well, I might have seen you at the show by the time this is on, but pretend you didn't know.
We had a great time.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
I loved your costume.
Yeah, I got lost walking into my car at university somehow. Cool, man. Thanks.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.